couples date night, where we have the wonderful privilege and opportunity to talk about relationships and things that we can do to make our relationships better, tools and resources that can help us improve. And today we have something very interesting to talk about, and as we get together tonight, as I always say, it's a great opportunity to reach out to friends and family and people we know could benefit from this. We hope that you will learn a lot from us today, and you'll be able to apply them to your life, that it will enrich your relationship in all that you do. We do have a website. It's www.enjoylifewithyourSpouse.com, where we archive all the podcasts we have on the show. So sit back and we will be right back. Whether you desire to go on a pilgrimage, a pastor's appreciation tour, special anniversary, couples getaway, birthday or infant tour, Joyco offers one of the most exclusive, affordable and all-inclusive tours within the United States, Canada, Israel, Egypt, Dubai, Europe and Africa. Most of our tours are complete packages including airfare, hotel, 4 or 5 star, food, modern bus store, and professional tour escorts included in your reservation. To learn more, call 703-350-2799, or you can visit us online at www.joycotourdmv.com, and again is JOYCOTOURDMV.com. We hope you will join us for our next trip. Hello again, and thank you for coming, joining us again tonight. My name is Akwesi Opon, and this is Couples Date Night, and today we have another opportunity to talk about relationships, and we are very excited that you have made time to join us and to be with us. There's an old hymn that most of us are familiar with, and it goes like this: Will your anchor hold in the storms of life? And it says that when the clouds unfold the wings of strife, when the strong tides lift and the cables strain, will your anchor drift or firm remain? It's a question. When you have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll, fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. This hymn captures what I like to talk about today, and today what I want us to reflect on is how to prepare our relationship for difficult times. When times are tough, when unexpected things come in life, which, as we all know, it's almost a constant when unexpected things happen, and we have to deal with it in one way or the other. And it's sad to know that for some people, the weight of the challenges of life, when they come through, tends to have a negative effect on their relationship. And I want us to think about, give some food of thought to certain things that we can do and how we can prepare ourselves to make sure that when difficult times come or challenges come, we're well equipped. We have a better mindset in terms of how to look at situations, how to deal with them, and also the support systems we need to be able to get through them. And ironically, when issues come up, we tend to believe things that tend to discourage us, or things that tend to lead us to the wrong directions as to the decisions we make about our relationship. So without wasting too much time, I'm going to get into our discussion. The first thing I want to talk about is something called emotional bank. When I say emotional bank, I'm referring to the activities you do all year round or the things you do when things are going well that makes deposits into the good emotions within you, so that when the difficult days come, you have something to pull from, and I'm going to get into the details of what some of these things are. When we take time to invest, it's just like paying your auto insurance, your car insurance. We pay that, or even the warranty you get on your car. It's not fun when you're paying it. It's work, it takes discipline. But when that day comes, when something is wrong with your car, it feels so good to know you have a cushion. It feels good to know that you have something to fall on and to depend on that will help you through that difficult time. And as we all know, when you have that auto insurance and something happens, not only will they come and appraise your car, they will also ensure that any repairs on the car is done. They will make sure that whilst your car is being repaired, you have a rental car at your disposal. And some even take it to the level of replacing your entire car. And that is something that, we hope it doesn't have to happen, because, the circumstances that lead you there could be unpleasant, as you can imagine. But the point I'm making here is that when you have to fall on your insurance, it tends to be a great feeling, because you have that assurance that you won't have to pay to repair or replace your car by yourself. And that is what I mean by emotional bank. When you make deposits into your relationship, so that when that day comes, when times are hard, or you're going through some form of challenges, you have something to pull out of. You have some good memories, you have some good feelings, you have some good thoughts of things that you did or were done to you that you can fall on. And usually when I talk about these things, it's the things that we do that build our relationship. Those are the very things that will help you go through difficult times, and they come from, the day-to-day things like affirming your spouse, telling your spouse how great they are. We don't have to wait for difficult times to do that. If it's something we do on a day-to-day basis, it becomes an emotional cushion for us when difficult times come. Going on date nights, I can't tell how many times I say this on this podcast or this radio show, that it's important that we make time to connect as couples, being in the moment, speaking speaking your spouse's love language is another one. Pursuing your spouse, showing love and respect. We've talked about this on this show. Forgiveness. All these things are deposits. Every time you do any of them, you're making specific deposits into your emotional bank, and that is what will help you and grant you the strength to go through the difficult times when they come. Connecting with other couples is a great one. I've often said that relationships is not to be done alone. Marriage is not to be done in isolation. It's important to connect with other couples, because you find strength. There's strength in the masses. There's strength in the community. And I'm not saying that if you are somebody who don't like being among people, you should do it anyway. But you have friends, and it's important to identify the few friends you can be able to connect with and really enjoy life with. Yeah. So the number one thing that we need that will help us during the difficult times in our relationship, it's our relationship with God and our spirituality. How well do you connect with God? My pastor of my church often has this diagram he shows us, and I think I've talked about it on the show, where he draws a triangle and with the pointed side facing up. And he describes to us that the bottom, on the left side is you, on the right is your wife. And as the two of you move to the top of the triangle, guess what? You move closer together as you move closer to God. If you can visualize what I'm describing here, it's very important that our relationship with God is key. And we don't run to God on the day of trouble, even though he says we should call upon him in the day of trouble. We have to still fellowship with him even before the days of trouble come, so that when that day comes, we already have a relationship going that we can tap into, that we can depend on. So as we begin to on this journey of exploring how to strengthen our relationship and prepare, I won't say prepare, but the things that we do so that if difficult times come or challenging times come, we know exactly the steps to take. There is a scripture I want to share with you. Is Proverbs 6 from 6 to 8. This is a very popular one. It says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest." Whether you're dealing with internal conflict, disagreements, infidelity, health issues, mental health, illness or health, or any other external affairs like job losses, family issues, or anything that you can think of, laying that foundation will really help you. I did a little bit of research on, based on the scripture, Proverbs 6:6, where it talks about considering the ant. And it said that ants will eat large amounts of food in the fall to prepare for the winter. They will enter into a dormant state, feeding off the fat, proteins, and carbohydrates of the food they stored in the fall. This is interesting. So when the temperature drops, the body of the ant will become sluggish due to the drop in the ant's body temperature. But as you can tell here, they prepare ahead of time, knowing that a time is going to come, the weather will be cold, they will not be able to find food, so they prepare ahead of time. And that is the same thing we're being called to do. I know that most too often when the scripture is read about, consider the ant and see how wise they are, we think about our career and work and saving for a rainy day. But we've never considered this when it comes to our relationship, because as we invest, we make deposits into our relationship. When the difficult days come, we have something to draw on and we have something to pull on that will help us to get through those difficult days when they come. So it's very important that we position ourselves and we take those steps to invest into this wonderful relationship that we have, and not just treat it as something that we can just pick it up when we need it, or we can just fall on it anytime we need it. It's very, very important that we make these investments. Right, we're going to take a short break. My name is Akwesi Upon. This is Sunlight Radio Online, and we will be right back. Hello, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Akwesi Opong. This is Sunlight Radio Online, and today we are talking about how to prepare your marriage and your relationships for the day of trouble. The Bible talks about the day of trouble, and as we all know, things happen in our world and in our lives that are sometimes beyond our strength. And if we have made enough preparation, or if we have structured our relationships in a way that it's able to, where it's thriving, when difficult times come, we are able to deal with them better. And I say this because over the last year or so, as we all know, the global pandemic we are all still grappling with and finding our way out of has had a lot of impact on relationships. It's uncovered a lot of weaknesses in the structure of our relationships, and the two people of good intentions put together in a room where I know in the peak of the pandemic, when we couldn't go anywhere, we were forced to come to terms with some of the things that we've been putting aside for a long time. We're all forced to learn how to communicate. We're all forced to tolerate each other more and be able to be patient with each other. And I hope that a lot of us were able to pass the test, as we call it, and think that as we all emerge out of the pandemic and we start going to work and businesses are opening up, children are going to school, we take this opportunity to learn lessons so that if anything like this or anything of a lesser degree ever strikes, we will be much more prepared mentally, emotionally, and also we'll be prepared and equipped with knowledge and resources that will help us to get through. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is some of the things that we can do as a couple that will help us, deal with issues when they come up. You have to remember that we are mates, as we all know, on your wedding day we made that vow and we're also excited, and we couldn't wait to begin our lives together as a couple. And difficulties in your life can throw your entire marriage into a spin. While each situation must be assessed and approached in its own unique way, a good overarching idea is to remember that you are on the same team and you work together as a couple. A three-strand cord is not easily broken, as the Bible tells us. So if the two of you are a team, your approaches as a team, it really puts the strength on your side. You're not seeing your partner as the enemy, but you're seeing the enemy as the enemy. The enemy of joy, the things that steal your joy and bring conflict into your relationship. See your spouse as somebody in your team. And one of the things that I want you to think of is when difficult time comes, think of your wedding day and think of how excited you are. That should give you some strength to get through it. Face conflicts head on. Don't bury or avoid it. We men tend to avoid issues when they come up, but it's important to look it straight in the eye, get the facts, know the situation, and deal with it. Start taking steps to solve it, and not just avoid it. So don't do a character assassination where you destroy the character of your spouse or say things that you shouldn't or belittle each other. We have to learn to communicate openly, and talk about things that we're going through, how we're feeling, and listen to each other. I've often said that a key part of communication is listening, because whilst you are talking, the other person is listening, and also vice versa. So we have to learn the art of listening. And when you listen very well, you'll be able to hear beyond the words. You'll be able to hear the emotions and why the person is saying the way the thing he or she is saying. So let's learn to not only communicate well, but let's also learn to listen. If you're finding it increasingly difficult to work together as a partner through a difficult season, consider getting help. it's important that we learn to get help. And when I say get help, I'm not talking about going to work to tell your colleagues about everything going on wrong in your relationship, or your family members who have no business knowing about things that are going on. But I'm talking about a mentor. I'm talking about a counselor. I'm talking about somebody who has good interest in your relationship, and you know who those people are, who can speak life into your relationship, people that you trust. And if we commit to connecting with people like that, they will give us the tools, the encouragement. They will speak life into our relationship and help us to overcome the difficult times. You know, they can help us to get focus on what is important, because as you agree with me, when we go through difficult times, we forget what is important because our emotions are riding the show, and we fail to become logical and think about the facts and how we can really unravel the situation in which we find ourselves, you know. So, the next thing I want to talk about is cultivating intimacy. Intimacy is key. Intimacy is a time where, as a couple, you have your private times together, where it's romance, sex, or anything, or even talking, having deep discussions about your lives and the things you enjoy. Intimacy plays a key role in preparing you for difficult times, because if we have great intimacy, a lot of psychologists and marriage counselors have said that intimacy is a good gauge as to where your relationship is. And in general, every relationship has seasons. Love has its own natural ebbs and flow, but it's often guaranteed that most marriages will experience some dry spells, just like the seasons as we see it. We have different seasons around the world. Some seasons are more favorable than others. I remember growing up in Ghana, when it gets to December, January, we have the winds blowing from the northern part of Africa, from the Sahara Desert, and we get this crisp, dry season where some leaves fall, your lips chap, it gets so uncomfortable, breathing is difficult, and it's a season that it often reminds us of Christmas, but then it's quite uncomfortable sometimes, and it's something that we deal with when it comes, and we're able to get through it. So it's important to make sure that we invest in intimacy, having time just for the two of you, where you put the phone away, turn off the computer, the TV, and make time connecting. There's a show we did a couple of months ago. We talked about having a State of the Union. That is part of intimacy. If you go back to our website, enjoylifewithyourspouse.com, you can review that lesson and learn that lesson and pick up some tools there as to how to go about it. So intimacy is a key part of this as you go through it. I want to also point out that this part of our lesson today, some of the resources came from Symbols. Symbols is an online resource where you and your spouse can take an online assessment that will help you learn about yourself and each other. Symbols means save your marriage before it starts. It's a great resource. I've used it quite a bit at our church. So it is pretty typical that at some point we will be able to get through our challenges if we do the right things and if we apply the right tools. If we don't, then that's when we're setting up ourselves for more challenges. If you've managed to hold on to each other and you've been able to get through unique situations together, you're one step closer to being ahead of a lot of couples, because simple tools that help us get through relationship elude a lot of couples. Your commitment to each other is still important, and if we are able to pick up lessons as we go, if we're able to know what to say and what not to say, and how to control ourselves, we will be able to go through situations and challenges when they come up. So, just because your relationship hasn't gone through any difficult times now does not mean that it will not happen. We pray that it won't happen. But as we know, simple, very simple things like even your car breaking down or you going through a job loss can have a serious strain on your relationship, you know. So when it comes to intimacy, as we're talking about, we have to revisit the things that we have in common. You know, we have to think about and invest in things, activities that excite us as a couple. You know, we have to learn to laugh together. You know, we don't laugh together anymore. Where did our laughter grow? You know, we have to laugh together, you know, and we have to let truth lead the way. We have to speak the truth to each other. The truth meaning really tell about how you feel. And also when your spouse is expressing how he or she feels, it's important that you listen. So the next thing is about, you know, taking things one step at a time. You know, there's a story I want to talk about here. I put in my notes to share a story. So, and this is about letting the truth lead the way and, you know, really knowing the truth. There's a story about a woman who went to the grocery store to pick up some items to make some food. So she came to her car, put all the things on her back seat, sat in the driver's seat to go, and she heard a loud pop and something hit the back of her head. So she stood there with her hand on it, called 911 and said she'd been shot. So the paramedics and the police rushed there, couldn't find anybody. You know, it was a very nice community, and they were quite surprised, so they started looking around trying to understand. And this woman had her hand at the back of her head. So they were wondering what's going on. So they opened the car, tried, they got her out. Only to realize that the woman had bought Pillsbury dough. And those of you who know what Pillsbury dough is this dough in this pressurized cardboard tube where you pop it and you kind of shape them or cut them and just put in the oven, and you can bake biscuits or bread or all kinds of things with it. And apparently the temperature was very hot, and when she put it in the car and she sat down, it popped and a piece of the dough got stuck at the back of her head, and she thought she had been shot and her brains were coming out. You know, it's very sad to you know, make such assumptions, but you know, aside the humor in this, we sometimes draw conclusions to things that are not as bad as they are. So my hope is that we learn something from this lesson, knowing that we have to learn to assess situations before making decisions. So we have to learn to take things a day at a time. That's very important. Hard seasons in marriage might feel like it's dragging, it's taking long, and you don't know how hard it's going to, you know, go and how long a particular season will last. You know, a breakup, job loss, disconnection, illness. I've talked about all those, you know. But all that we have to do is that we have to be patient for it to run its course. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it feels like the pain will never go away. Just take it a day at a time. You know, keep holding on to each other, keep believing God, keep reminding yourself of, you know, your wedding day and the great times. You know, I like making memories. Memories are very important because they help us to get through difficult times, you know, and memories refreshes our lives. So as you build memories in your life, when the difficult days come, fall on those memories, you know, and the memories will help you to get through the very difficult times. So at this point, we're going to take a short break and we'll be